I once told James that the word testicle was etymologically connected to the word testify. He said, "Is it?"
In The Man Who Would Marry Susan Sontag, New York poet Edward Field comments on West Coast Jungianism.
The East Coast has a natural affinity for Freud, who, though fanciful in his theories, seems more practical and down-to-earth, getting into the nitty-gritty of sex as he does, as compared to the West Coast, which prefers the more mystical Jung, with his collective unconscious as racial memory. In this, Jung allied himself to religious traditions, which suits the Pacific Rim, where poets succumb to the lure of Zen practice, Indian or homegrown gurus, Native American peyote rites, and such. Even there, where once poets claimed to be the standard bearers of joy, that ambition has been up to ecstasy, if not enlightenment. Holier than thou, there's even competition as to who is closer to achieving this ultimate state. Saintly old fools, devoting their poetry to the subject of bliss, which doesn't prevent them from falling into periods of depression. But they don't write about that.
Though Edward Field doesn't name the Jungian James Broughton specifically, Broughton is clearly one of the people about whom he is thinking in his remarks about joy and bliss. Is it true that big joy, in Field's terms, big bliss, didn't write about periods of depression?
No. A darkness constantly shades the sunshine of this extraordinary man. If we examine the themes of Broughton's early work, Mother's Day, the verse drama, the playground, the poems and musical chairs, we will hardly find it surprising that the artist at 30-something had thoughts of suicide. The world these works explore is brilliant and hilarious, but it is also profoundly disturbing, even at times terrifying. My book, All the James Broughton Reader, examines this aspect of James Broughton's work as well as other aspects.
We can understand the great joy of this man's work only if we also understand the sorrow that it is expressed in it also.
Only if we understand that sunshine and shadow are inextricably tied together. In a lifetime that stretched from 1913 to 1999, James Broughton witnessed and commented on most of the 20th century. His commentary was leveled at some of the most precious myths of the century, but it was never made from the point of view of officialdom, rather from the point of view of the outsider.
The commentary was, however, never of the rationalist variety. Broughton was no deconstructionist. He countered myth with myth. In a century struggling with religious belief, he asserted a religion of big joy. In a century whose central art form was film, he made movies, alternative ones.
In a century struggling to find a place and definition for outsider groups such as gays and women, he became an emblem of that struggle, though he also married and experienced the life of a more or less conventional husband and father. In a century aghast at its own horrors, he advocated laughter. His name for his outsider status was poet, and as he knew very well, poetry was one of the century's most innovative but least mainstream forms. Yet, unlike most poetic innovators of the century, he was never a poet of the ivory tower variety.
Despite his advocacy of deep ecology and of the notion of the earth as mother, Broughton remained a deeply urban figure, an essentially communal outsider who simultaneously believed and was amused by the notion that an active poet could change the world.
In the midst of an immensely rationalist and unbelieving century which longed intensely for some sort of transcendental assurance. He asserted mystery. Though he occasionally thought of himself as God, he never took himself
Or God.
quite seriously. This wonder, a hymn to Herm.
This wonder.
This wonder,
This pride.
this surprise,
This secret.
this skyrocket,
This wonder.
your wonder,
My wonder.
our wonder,
My steering gear.
my takeoff,
My sword.
my songbird,
My bird in hand.
my flying carpet.
Your wonder.
Oh, wonder.
Your catalyst.
Your
Your
alchemist,
talisman.
your
Your
telescope,
whirligig.
your
Your
wishbone,
power dive.
your parachute,
Your up and about.
your wanting out,
Your zingy dingbat.
my fiddly twiddlestick.
That wonder.
That wanderer,
That sidewinder.
that
My
spellbinder,
chariot.
your chimney,
My harlequin.
your hyacinth,
My parsnip.
your percolator,
My spark plug.
your pressure cooker,
This wonder.
this wonderful,
This pitchfork.
this plumb line,
This bagpipe.
this trombone,
This home run.
this touchdown,
This noble savage.
this undercover
This
agent,
strip squeeze.
this if you please,
This twinkie ginger jangle.
this rammy cackle juggler,
Your shillelagh.
my ukulele,
Your yardstick.
my niblick,
Your cucumber.
my can opener,
Your skewer.
my
Your
screwdriver,
bullet.
my
Your
blowtorch,
foo doodle diddly dad.
my abracadabra rattlesnake,
This wonder.
this wonder kid,
This tingle twick.
this tickle nip,
This digit itch.
this finger
This
switch,
thistle paw.
this wiggle
This
claw,
lollipop.
this pile
This
driver,
hornswoggle.
this cornucopia,
This sizzling wang dilly.
this whiz-bang whistle bag,
This wonder.
this wonder work,
This jackknife.
this jumpstart,
This rocket pad.
this meteor,
This nose cone.
this cornet tail,
This bomb sight.
this boomstick,
This boing boing boomerang.
this ding-dong bongo bongo.
Your one up.
You're one hell of a,
Your presto log.
your flamethrower,
Your bayonet.
your
Your
barometer,
tremolo.
your arpeggio,
Your polywog.
your pachyderm,
Your holy cow.
your hallelujah.
This wonder.
To wonder at,
This wonder.
to wander with,
This pygmy.
this Beowulf,
This salamander.
this Hercules,
This groundswell.
this earthquake,
This typhoon.
this tidal wave,
This four-in-hand firing squad.
this five-finger spacewalk,
This tightrope boiling point.
this Grand Slam battering ram,
This nozzle blister nuzzle switcher.
this hickory-dickory dock-a-block,
This humdingery mainspringer.
this straight terrific sock
This
dolager,
rubber-double bubble burster.
this whim-whammy cream whipper,
This out-of-hand walloping whopper.
this out-of-sight sleight-of-hand killer-diller,
Your wonder.
and my wonder,
From wonder.
into wonder,
Unfolding.
exploding,
All forms.
all formations,
All mine.
all ours,
All ways.
all the way,
This wonder.
this wonder,
This wonder.
this wonder,
This wonder.
this wonder,
Oh.